I got, I got, I got, I got money, 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 money. Money on my bees, cause I'm getting all these honeys. I got money, 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 money. Money is the virus, cause these niggas acting buggy. I got money, 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 money. Money on my.
Had a little delay and a hiatus, but we are back for season 2. Welcome everybody to the Genuine Kontent podcast with your hosts Jay and Josh. Jay, it's been a little minute. Let's catch up, man. How you been?
A little minute is a it's a
A
nice
lot
way
of
to say
minutes.
it, but it feels good, man. It's a that for and everybody knows now that's what season 1 of Genuine Content, and we took a little break, and uh, probably wasn't a fully planned break, or wasn't that long of a planned break, but I think the recharge was almost needed for people that don't know, like new father. Then I actually just started going to work, so that initial transition of working and handling the baby and all that was actually pretty tough. And like, I'm kind of glad we didn't do any recordings, because I would have been like, I know I always said I run on E, but I was like super duper. I'm like, the definition of tired is like, I just learned a new definition of it. It's crazy, but I missed it. Like, I missed like just the recording and such. Luckily nothing really happened like that we needed to talk about. But like, I just missed the platform. I just missed talking, missed like us doing this dialogue. Just kind of us a time for us to catch up and talk nonsense. But like, it feels good to like now, like, we're back in a routine. This was season 1. See, that was season 1, and that was actually a pretty good intro of us learning how to do this whole thing called a podcast. And now we're just getting to the flow of it. And even like within a couple weeks hiatus, like, it's natural again. So this feels good.
Yeah, almost back like we never left, man.
Yeah,
But
that's what
yeah,
it feels
I think
like.
to your point, it was kind of like the universe was like, yeah, you know what, slow down a little bit. Both of y'all just need to take it easy,
A lot
get
happened, like,
it
personally,
right.
right?
Yeah. Sometimes life happens, man. But I mean, that's just kind of how things work sometimes. But
I
happy
mean,
to be back.
yeah, I mean, even
And
though, just sorry to even cut you off, but like during that break, like, we both had birthdays, like, so it's like to even
yeah,
record during our birthdays, and then like Father's Day, and then so like you spent Father's Day with your father, and then me with mine, and me
true,
being a new father, it was like June was just packed. And even our
true.
birthdays, I have like 4 or 5 cousins, like our birthdays are in the same week of June, and yeah, there's just a lot personally. So it's like, again, you're right. Universe said, kind of chill. The podcast will be here for you when you're ready. And it was just
Oh
like,
yeah,
you just text me, hey, next week. I was like, let's do it. I was
and we're
excited,
back
man.
into it.
No
Exactly,
hesitation.
man. Exactly. The show must go on, man. But we're back as Jay's mentioned. This is season 2. We're just gonna kind of call it that officially at this point. Um, but we've had a fun 10 episodes to get this thing started, and we're just gonna come right back with it. Welcome everybody once again to Genuine Kontent. If you haven't followed us on Instagram, it's at genuine_content spelled with a K. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. We're on YouTube for these videos. Obviously, we're doing this video pod. We're doing our thing. We're going to keep that rolling. Follow
People
us on
love it.
any major streaming platforms. Absolutely. It kind of gives like a little different perspective. You kind of put a name to the face sometimes. But hey, season 2, we've got a great episode. Jay, I'm glad you didn't bury the lead too much, because we are going to talk about fatherhood a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
since you've got this thing going on. This is a whole new charted course of life for you, and we have a special guest as well to kind of help us on this conversation. But we're going to talk a little bit about wellness overall in this role of fatherhood, especially being men in this space. I think there's been a lot of negativity about masculinity, about men in general. You would think that like men are something like taboo, but we have
It's
our roles to play.
yeah,
We have our lives that we got to live.
yeah. I
And
mean, even piggyback on that, like, we did the episode on masculinity, right? Like, we did
true.
that. We did an episode about toxicity, right? And then during our our break, we have our group chat, and there's a thing of things men shouldn't do, and it's a long list of things. And it's always
It's wild.
added. And I'm like,
It's
even the
wild.
little things, like I won't be surprised if number 65 is doing a podcast is not
Oh yeah.
masculine. That's gonna be
Oh
on there
yeah.
soon.
Yeah, I'm shoot, man. They're probably up to like 500 things at this point. But no, hey, without further ado, man, let's bring in our guest, our special guest.
Let's add him.
Okay.
Right. Yes, we got my guy Asley on deck. Asley, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm feeling powered up. How are y'all doing?
Hey, you know what? I'm trying to match that energy, man. Like, well, I'm trying to get a little powered up, a little swole for this episode too, man.
Hold up, because I gotta do my quick thing where I'm trying to get sponsored.
Oh yeah.
Yo, simply,
Yes.
simply, holla at your boy.
Which one is that one? Is that the strawberry? I think I see the red.
Unfortunately, it's a strawberry. It's the last one
Man.
I got. I need the re-up.
Did you save it for this episode?
I opened the fridge and I'm like, it was meant to be, right? Like,
Why not? Why not? Right?
It was either that, and it sounds crazy. I still got some pumpkin beers from last year that I didn't drink all of them because I don't really drink that much like that. So I'm like, it's not the fault. Yeah, I'm gonna hold on to it. So I still got some of the strawberry peach right here. It's still summertime, unfortunately.
Still got some summer vibes. Yeah, this heat is no joke, man. That's something refreshing, right? Kind of keep you even keel,
man.
Homeostasis.
As I know you guys are in Gainesville, I'm over here in South Florida. I work in Miami, and today, so my job, like, sometimes I gotta be outside, and like, and I was outside probably for like 30 minutes talking to people, and I was sweating like crazy. I'm wearing a short sleeve polo. And I looked, I'm like, okay, looked at my watch, it says 93 degrees. I open and I click it again, but it feels like 105. And then you can tell I'm just sweating so much. And it's been like this, like for the past 2 months, man. This heat is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, hey, make no mistake about it. It's like that in Gainesville, man. Like it's same energy. This heat is no joke, man.
I've never, ever, and I'm born and raised here in Miami. I've never seen a heat advisory. And we've been having one every day. Like this heat is just unheard of.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm at the point where like when you can see heat rise, like I see that every day when I pull up in the car and start to crank it on.
Yeah. The last time I felt like this heat is last year, Josh, when we went to Vegas and we did the ATV, right? But remember that was dry heat. But
that wasn't even bad.
Yeah, that was like 90 something in dry heat, but this is like 90 with humidity. This is just the worst. I can't even wear anything. I just sweat everything out.
It don't matter. Yeah, it really don't matter at this point. You can't even try to like stay cool. You just gotta accept your fate if you walk outside.
Yeah. For real.
But Asley, we're gonna give you the floor, man, to give you your introduction, talk a little bit about yourself, what you're doing these days. We want to definitely uplift what you got going on because we think it's prime for this episode. So take it away, man.
For sure, man. Well, fellas, I'm happy to be here on this Genuine Kontent podcast. That's content with a K.
Appreciate that.
Said, my name is Asley Pollas. I'm a son first. Then after being a son, I became a brother. And then I became a friend. And then I became a boyfriend that turned into a husband that now is a father. And so just along that cycle, I'm also a motivator too by career. So I have my own business called Noble Sheep. Me and one of my best friends created this partnership for us to go out and empower young leaders on the content of leadership, on the content of well-being, but just trying to help people be their best selves. And so we work a lot with colleges, universities across the nation. And so you can follow us on noble.sheep on Instagram or even YouTube. You'll see all of our dynamic content. Our main message is to power up, and I'll talk more about what that means to me, even in fatherhood and the different things that we're going to talk about today. But as you can tell from my energy, I'm just thankful to be alive, right? Like, we didn't wake up today on our own. I know a lot of you all set your alarm clocks, but you didn't wake up today on your own. There's going to be a time when we all don't hear our alarm clock. So I just don't take any day for granted. And I try to bring the best energy to it because I don't know when my last one is going to be.
Ooh, I felt that one, man.
Man, I'm finna run through a brick wall. Like, let's go, man. Like, I was telling Jay just offline. So I usually see you sometimes at like Gainesville Health and Fitness, like before dawn. Like we're
Yes.
talking like 5 o'clock in the morning. Like I'm just getting this workout in, and I'm kind of like walking in there. I'm like, all right, I got to get my mind right. Like you're already in there. You're like, John, what's the word, bro? And I'm like, what's up, Asley? Like I'm just trying to get this thing right. I'm just trying to get up, man.
No, hey,
But
Josh,
man, like you have the energy to like power a city block.
no,
And I'm just curious, man. Like, where do you get that from? Like, is it like your philosophy? Like how do you just stay up like that, like all day, every day, man? Like, talk to us, man.
Now, I think especially in the morning, especially because I wake up probably around 3 a.m., around like 2:30. And so by the time I get to the gym and you see me, it's kind of like that runner's high. I call it the lifting high, to where I'm in my zone, right? But I
Yeah,
think ever since I was growing up, I've always been kind of that beam of light. And I think honestly, that's just was God given, right? I think God has given me a gift to be able to light up certain places that I'm in, and to be able to just have that joyful spirit. And I think another person that added to that was my mom, right? See, my mom, she's like the most joyful, most like super energetic. Like she has a lot more energy than I do in a lot of ways. So just growing up around that and seeing her zeal for life, and the heart and the energy that she brings behind everything she does, I think inspired me at a young age to also carry on that same way. So shout out to my mom. She's probably going to listen to this, and so Mom, I love you, but you are one of the main reasons as to why I am who I am today, and my dad as well.
Hey, Josh, you're right about the energy, man. Because similar to him, like I wake up at 4 in the morning to go work out, and I don't work till 8 o'clock. So like I'm up 4 hours just because I want to, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm always tired. I get home around like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I'm tired. I kind of want to do nothing really. And man, this man got me hyped. Like I'm over here got this, like I'm not a coffee drinker or anything like that. And I'm over here like I got all this like energy and stuff, like as if I just drink coffee, or if I drink a pre-workout. I'm like, I'm hyped. I'm ready for this.
I'm telling you, man. Like I just came from the basketball court, like right before this. I'm like, man, I could probably just go right back and run up a few more games.
Oh, man.
But Asley, man, like you can definitely see like the passion that you've grown up with, like just carry through like all elements of your life, man. We're great, we're appreciative that you can take the time to be with us today, and kind of help us with this episode, man. But we kind of led into it, right? Like our kind of wellness routine, like how we kind of get going each and every day. And of course, like as we've kind of grown up as men, right, the amount of time that we have to ourselves kind of starts to dwindle a little bit, right? And so like, how do you as an individual kind of keep yourself kind of grounded, maintain your wellness, your health? Jay, same question kind of goes to you too, man, especially since, like as you mentioned, right? Like you started off as son when you have all the time in the world to be as carefree as possible. Then you segue up into relationship, to husband, now father, all that time just goes. So like, how do you keep that time to yourself, or just maintain like your wellness in your day-to-day walk?
Jay, you want to take on that one? Yeah.
No, I mean, up to you. Up to you. I mean, you're the guest.
Well, okay. So for me, I would say definitely the biggest, I would hopefully say the priority of my life is my faith. And so because of just what I believe in, right? I believe in Jesus. I believe that, he is my Lord and Savior. And so growing up with that mentality and that mindset, and understanding that, I was born on March 16th, 1992. If I'm lucky, I may make it to 100 years, right? So I may make it to 2092. But a lot of times in life, we all know that it may be shorter than that. And so I understand that I've been given an opportunity to live for this particular time, be in front of these particular people, and be around like just in this generation that we're in right now. And so just understanding the timing of it all, and understanding how God has just orchestrated my life, from the parents that I didn't pick, to where I was living growing up, to the people that I've met now, right? From Josh, even now you, Jay. Like a lot of things in my life have been ordained to the point where I know it's purposeful, and I know I'm not going to waste this purpose. And so when I wake up, understanding my responsibilities as a husband, understanding my responsibilities as a father, because a lot of those things do take time. And even me being an entrepreneur, having my own business, like that can be a heavy responsibility. And so to maintain my wellness and my sanity, I definitely have to spend time with God, in the morning, but then I also have to exert some type of physical energy. And lifting for me really is the main hobby that I have, because as you know, with time is limited, you got to pick and choose. And so if I'm going to do something, I'd rather sacrifice sleep to, number one, get my time with God, and then number two, just go out and lift and just take care of my body, which then leads to me being mentally sane as well as emotionally sane as well.
That's big, man. Hey, appreciate that testimony. Appreciate you sharing that. Jay, gonna pass it to you, man.
So I mean, I feel like me and him are almost the same person. Like we're kind of similar, right? So like for me, like priority, like okay, my priorities almost has just changed. Like when like he said, like you grow up as a son to a brother to boyfriend, husband, not father. So for the past couple of years, like my priority was my wife and our lives together. And now now that I have a daughter, she's 3 months old. Like really everything's changed. It's like she's my top priority. I gotta do everything for her. I gotta grind for her.
Yeah.
And while she is my top priority, I think what we forget as we get older is like our wellness and our well-being. So like it's like her and like her, my wife, and my wellness, they're actually top three. Like my wellness actually is as equal as them, because if I'm not good, then how can I be there for them? How can I provide for them?
Yeah.
I can't sacrifice myself. Like if I sacrifice myself for them, then I'm not giving my all to them. So I'm kind of with him. Like I sacrifice sleep to make sure they're okay. But like for me, working out is way more important than getting like people get 8 hours of sleep. Like give me 5 hours, right? Give me 5 or 6. I can rock with that. And I got to do what I got to do, because I got a bunch of things going on, but like I really put a priority in them and working out. Like working out is just my main source of wellness. We did a episode about like therapy and such, and how like it might be controversial. At the time, I was like, I don't think everyone needs therapy. While I think while it's a very important tool, everyone's different, and everyone has their own form of therapeutic intervention. And for me, like running, like I like lifting weights and stuff. Lifting weights is more for me like the stress induced, like take the stress away. But like running, like getting that runner's high, just running around the neighborhood for like 60, 70, 80, 90 minutes, just free flowing, just I don't know. It's just like I'm in another world, especially when you get the right music. And like I just feel like it's like the recharge I need. I could be in a really bad mood. I can like have all these thoughts or whatever, and I go for a nice run, and I'm just like, man, let's get the day started. Let's go. Like, what do I need to do? So like, so like I always prioritize wellness, and like that's like my main thing, like my main form of wellness. I got other things too, like Josh knows, like I love video games. Haven't been playing too much video games obviously with the baby, but trying to get my Smash Bros in every now and then. One thing that I love doing in the past, and I'm trying to get back to doing it again, is Legos. And I have like some Lego boxes right there, just waiting for me to build. And I keep looking at them, and I'm like, I used to love doing them before, and it's just like it's actually very like mind provoking, right? Like it's another mind exercise for you. So another just something to keep you busy, but also strengthen your mind. So like I just try to find other things. Like I used to like reading a lot, and I kind of lost it a bit. If it's not like comics, I don't really read too much. And I see all my friends trying to get into reading, and I'm like, it's just not me. But so I just got the Legos.
Right? Hey, you got to do what you do best, right? Like whatever works for you, man. It's not really about the process as much as it is about like your individual journey. Like it doesn't have to be one size fits all, right? I wish I was just as much disciplined as each and every one of y'all, because I go through my spurts where I'm thinking to myself like, man, I lost my wellness in this one. Like, like I reached the point of like, say, burnout, for instance, or like or just like utter tiredness. And I'll kind of reflect on it, and I'll think like, what was my diet like the last 2-3 weeks, right? Like what was I going through at this particular moment? Like, was I just high strung? Was I anxious? Like, and then how did I respond? Right? Like, was I like grounded in it? Was I my usual self? Like, did I maintain my practices? And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I think when it comes to like my overall wellness journey, I've found the most success kind of harking back to like childhood in some ways, right? Like what made my inner child, like, right? What made me happy and joyful? And it was like exercise,
Yeah.
whether it was like playing basketball, playing soccer, working out, just strengthening my body, strengthening my mind. And I think those are the things that really I gravitate to the most. I like running just as much as y'all do, but sometimes I have to trick myself into like getting that cardio. And so it's always been basketball for me to get that done.
Yeah, you don't love running until you ran a half marathon.
You might be right on that. I definitely don't have that sticker. That sticker is not on my card. I might have that at like 6.5 or something, but no way.
That's true.
I haven't gotten to that point. That's something on the bucket list, though. I need to get into that for sure.
It's very rewarding. I'm doing one next year, hopefully.
Hey, you know what? I might start thinking about that training regimen for that. But yeah, like I love to do cardio. I just have to kind of trick my mind into it a little bit, just with something a little bit more stimulating behind it. So sports has always been that go-to. I talk to Jay about this a lot, but I love to meditate. And like, if I'm in my zone, if I'm like doing it right, I'm meditating every day, maybe 2 or 3 times a day, just to have that kind of time, just to reflect in, check kind of how my breath is, like whether or not it's like really fast paced or like I'm really anxious, or whether it's like slow to the point of like I need to kind of pick it up a little bit, just kind of check in with my body, kind of see where I'm at, what I need to do moving forward. Actually, one thing I picked up most recently, probably over this last year, is journaling. And like I have my introverted tendencies, and so like it gives me that outlet to kind of process things, but also like write them out and kind of see what I put down and think about it from not almost like an out of body perspective, right? Like it's almost like somebody wrote this, like, now what do you think about it when you put it down on paper? Is it as serious as you thought it was? Like, is that, did it affect you as much as you really think? Did it affect you more? How did you feel about it? And so I kind of have those like introspective moments when I journal, and it's been monumental lately. I'm not saying I do it every day, but when I have, like, when I need to, put something down, I'll definitely do that. A friend of mine actually kind of put it very, very eloquently. It was like, sometimes you download so much information, especially in today's society, that like you have all this input, but you need this output too. And so like journaling's kind of been that process for me to kind of decompress sometimes, put it out on paper and really see like, all right, this is what came out. So this was real. Like this was genuinely how I felt at that moment in that time. And it's made the world of a difference.
That's actually a very popular thing to do now. Like when you go on like YouTube Shorts or like TikTok or IG Reels, like if you look at what the influencers are doing, like influencers are journaling. Like I notice a lot of them do that. Like it's like at least a lot of the, I like to watch a lot of health like stuff. I'm like health conscious. So like a lot of the health influencers, like, oh yeah, this is my diet, this is my workout, this is what I do throughout the day. And one of the things they do is journaling.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It's made a difference in my day-to-day life. I started off with like a guided journal for Black men, because I didn't know the first thing about journaling. Like I was like, man, what is this like? But my wife bought it for me. It was just a time where like I was in a big transition, and like I started getting to a little funk when like it's rapid change. And so like, she was like, why don't you just try this? Like, put some of your thoughts down, see how you feel about it. And so I, took a page, kind of like circle what you're feeling at that moment, like whether it's stress or whether it's tiredness, whether it's happiness, joy, and then like whatever the prompt was for that day, you just kind of go about it. And that was like a 50-day journal or so.
Wow.
And crushed that. And then after that, I just bought a blank one, and I was like, I can just do this on my own show now. Like, just kind of felt that confidence. But yeah, it's I like it. I highly recommend it. Kind of Jay's point, like it's not for everybody. But
No, it's like I said, like previously, right? Like you just gotta find what, like, everyone's different. You gotta find what really works for you. Like, like I don't know about you, but I know Josh. He played video games, but not as much as me. Like I'm an avid video game player, and
Hey, you take the game.
I mean, some people might think it's childish or whatever, but like, it's a hobby. Like, I just won't break. Like, you know, you kind of gotta accept it or not. Like, that's definitely, like, if I need some time to myself, like, I'm glad my wife, like, accepts it, and she understands it. She even tells me, like, hey, you want to go downstairs and, you know, play? You know, you can go. Like, I know you got that new game. You want to go play it? And she knows I just need it. Like, so just something about that. Like, I don't know. Like, going to a
intuition thing. Like,
yeah.
You might need a game a little bit. That's cool. That's cool, so, man.
And I feel weird when I do. If I go like for the most part, like at this point, I probably go 2-3 days straight without playing, and then I'm like, I got that itch. I'm like, nah, I need to release that a little bit.
Yeah, I feel you. So Jay, you mentioned something that was very very interesting, and I kind of want to piggyback on that, like this whole societal standard, right? Or like this idea that men have to be a certain way, do a certain thing, kind of, you know, show a certain I don't want to say facade, because that's not necessarily the case, but like we oftentimes are kind of boxed into this like archetype of how we should be. Like, and what you mentioned was kind of this self-assurance, right? And so like for each of y'all, like what was that journey like? Even, I mean, Asley, if you like, you've had it from Jump Street, then talk about that too. I know sometimes like I've had to, like, been conflicted with like, okay, so what does society think about what I'm supposed to be versus who I am, and just kind of having that space to just kind of do you.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think for me, luckily, well, even as a black male, to add to that, I would say I've been blessed to have different father figures, right? So the first one being my dad. My dad is a hard worker, right? Man that grinds, gets it from out of nowhere. He will make a way, you know, very tough, very sincere though, but just very like about his business. And so I learned my work ethic of what a man should do from his angle. However, because of just the people that I was around in middle school and the kind of the environment that I got in, I also got a chance to see how other dads operated. Because I would spend a lot of times with my best friend, whose dad was an assistant pastor to a church, and then that allowed me to be around other men who were part of the church, right? Who were really great guys and had families. So I was able to get not only somebody who was hardworking, but I was also able to get a picture of what Fresh Prince of Bel-Air uncle would look like, right? And how they behave and how family sits down. So a lot of aspects that I might have been missing, somehow, some way I was able to pick it up through different father figures that I was either around or that I saw along the way. And even now too, as a father, being able to be a father around other men who are around my age, and then even some that are older, you know, I'm picking up nuggets from there every day. Because I feel like life is, you know, to go through life, you got to be a student of the game. And I think there's always something you can learn from people that are either trying to get to where you are even, or that have gone before you. And so just with the hindsight of the males that are doing their thing, they're doing a great thing with their family, being great husbands. Like I had that role model and example. And then for the young guys coming up too, that are just newfound fathers that have so much joy and so much beam to what's happening. Like I'm learning that zeal from them too. You know, so I think I because I'm a sponge, in a sense, I've been fortunate to pick up a lot of great role models that's allowed me to reframe what my idea of manhood is.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, absolutely. Jay, you got
that's a tough one to follow. So I think with me, like it started, I think I learned more about like me and manhood and society not putting me in a box. I learned that in college, but it definitely started growing up because like I grew up with you know, I was fortunate enough to where my grandma stayed with me. And it's like, if anyone knows, like my grandma's like a huge part of my life. And like I mean, I grew up, you know, it was pretty rough growing up. And my parents, they were in my life, both my mom and dad, but they was working so much. It's just, you know, like you talking about like immigrant parents, you know, I mean, we all learned the history of it, you know, of minorities and the economic struggles in between, like it's nothing new. So like, you know, there was always working. Like my dad was one, like I probably didn't see him until like what 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. My mom 6, 7 o'clock. I like at night, both of them. So my grandma was always there. And while I was raised in a religious household, it was always about like loving everyone and like do whatever makes you happy. Like that was always the thing. Like she preached to me, my parents preached to me, and like I really like took that, especially in college, where like in college that's where you really learn the freedom and like that's where you really truly learn yourself. And I I guess you can see a lot of like not hatred, but you can see a lot of like separation or just little segregation where it's like, okay, you have the minorities over here, then you have like the white crew over here, the white fraternity sororities over here, then the minorities over here. And like I never really experienced that because I grew up in a minority neighborhood. I grew up in minority schools. That's all I know. So then when I see people like, oh, well, you're supposed to be this because you're Hispanic, right? You can't be doing it because like this is what Hispanic people do. Like you're not white, you're not black, and it's like, well, I'm me though. Like why do you have a problem with whatever I'm doing, whatever how I'm dressing, how I'm acting, anything like that? And like that mindset, like that thing's almost kind of pushed me to even more. So it's like, okay, if you have a problem with it, I'm gonna just keep on doing it. So it was like almost like a rebellious thing, but it was still my personality. And then I fully evolved when I got my master's. Like I got my master's in social work, and in my opinion, that's a very liberal degree, right? Like I feel like it's very hard to be like a social worker and have conservative mindsets. Like it's almost an oxymoron to me. Like if there are any conservative social workers, like, you know, I'm not trying to offend you, but to me, like it's just an oxymoron because it just doesn't make sense. Like they're almost polar opposites. And I don't know. Then it's just like I learn all these things, and it's just all about like, you know what, just do you. Like like don't let anyone label you or anything like that. And like when I'm raising my daughter now, like it sounds stupid, but it's like, well, we gotta get her pink stuff. I'm like, well, why? Well, she's a girl. I mean, we can get her other colors. We can do. She can do whatever she wants. She wants to wear that. She can wear that. You know, like we're not gonna just stick her to pink or blue, or whatever, because that's what society deemed is a girl color. It's like if she wants to wear red, she can wear red. She can wear purple, black. I don't care. Like whatever she wants to do is gonna make her happy. Whether she wants to play with dolls or trucks, you know, like it's her happiness. And I'm just, and like that comes to me where like I don't care what people think. Like if people think I dress flamboyant sometimes, some people think I don't, whatever. Like I'm one who grew up with long hair and people thought I was feminine. It's like, well, I don't care. And then I have earrings and I have hoop earrings, and it's like, you know, then I'll wear like very tight fitting clothes sometimes. It's like, well, I don't really care like what you guys think, because it's whatever makes me happy. And as long as it makes me happy and comfortable, that's how I want to raise my daughter. And you know, my wife, you know, she has a different view. She has a different way of thinking. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna change you. I just don't want you to change me either. You want her to wear pink because she's a girl, that's fine. I just don't want to be, you know, limited. I don't think anyone should be limited. It's not like a woke thing or anything, because that's the new thing. Everyone gonna say that's woke, but it's more just do you. Don't let people tell you what to do. Like, you know, you find your own happiness in whatever it is.
Yeah, man, I think very well put, right? Like, for me, I mean, the men in my life were very instrumental to my growth as a person and just kind of my own self-assurance. Asley, to your point, no, my father was definitely the example when it came to work ethic.
Yes.
Definitely exuded, you know, do what you got to do. Do it for your family. Like the sacrifice that he went through, you know, kind of immigrating from Ghana, working at restaurants, then going to school, be a pharmacist. And then even then, like taking extra shifts, working from like 9 to 9. Like I remember sometimes like I would go to extended day, like after school, like the after school program, whatever. Then I would get picked up by like one of his coworkers, and then I would go straight to the pharmacy. And so like I would be around that like all the time. Or if anything, like it would be my grandparents who would pick me up. And so like I had such a strong relationship with my grandfather, so strong that I called him dad too. I've never called my granddad when he was alive, and he passed away in 2020, actually a week ago, 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, but he was such a very strong pinnacle of hard work. He was in the military. Um, he worked for the state for like 35 years, like like that whole thing, like got pension and all that good stuff. He was the one who really instilled values in me. Like, I
Yeah.
remember the first time that I was late to granddad's house, I heard it. And it
Mm.
wasn't even like chewed out type yell. It was like that disappointment, like, nah, son, like, I don't like to be late. And you're just like, oh man, like, dang, yeah,
Yeah.
like I just
That's
felt so bad
the
about that.
worst thing
What I'm saying?
yelling, right?
Exactly, like the disappointment yell. That's not really a yell, you feel me?
Yes.
But me and my granddad was big. Like, he was definitely rooted in his faith as well. He was one of the most grounded people that I know, or that I knew
Mm.
for sure. But yeah, my dad, when it came to work ethic, it was almost hard work to a fault. And I say that because when I was 7, he actually suffered a stroke,
Mm-hmm.
and his blood pressure was through the roof. Now, mind you, he's a pharmacist, right? And so you're thinking like, he probably knows everything he needs to do to regulate his blood pressure, but he
Right.
worked so hard, he worked himself sick.
Mhm.
And so that was almost like the equalizer. Like, I'm all of 7.5. Like, he worked so hard, but he almost passed doing it. So it was kind of like that. All right, you need to work hard. You need to get what you need to do, but you also need to kind of maintain your well-being. You need to maintain your health. You need to always keep an eye out for that. And I remember,
Yeah.
like, from then, like, I would almost like count calories. Like, I'd count fats. Like, and I'm just like all of like a 8-year-old trying to be a dietitian or something. Like, but like that really shook me in the sense of like, all right, like, you definitely have to get it in, but you got to take care of yourself at the same time too. Um, moving forward, like in school, like I didn't necessarily have a lot of Black friends, family like around me at that time, because I grew up in predominantly white areas.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the struggle bus for me, at least in, let's say, middle school, high school, kind of maintaining my own identity as a Black male, kind of navigating through like society at that time, being in school when you're like one of only maybe 2 minorities in your grade. So like that will challenge you a couple times. Like, people have their like stereotypical expectations from what they see about Black men in media or music or athletes and things of that nature. And there were some moments where I didn't necessarily fit that puzzle, quote unquote, for what they would expect. And I was A-okay with that. I would just say, all right, thank you. Like, if I didn't talk a certain way, or if I didn't wear like baggy stuff, like, I was like, you right, cool. I don't ask you to dress a certain way. Like,
Yeah.
I don't talk about how you rock. Like, this is just me. Like, what you mean? And it was just that simple. And so, like, I would say that probably reinforced like my own self-awareness more than anything, was just always being like thrown up against like some stereotypes and saying like, that's just not me, and that's not even what I want to be. Like,
Right.
so you're gonna have to pick on somebody else in a different way like that. Like, that's just not gonna work.
For real, man. And I love to see the themes because, my parents are Haitian. And so, they migrated here from, honestly, I was born in Canada. And so they had my brother, they met in Haiti. My parents met in Haiti, fell in love, had my brother in Switzerland because my mom was going to nursing school at the time. And then they moved to Canada to work. And so I was born in Canada. And then we moved to Gainesville, Florida, because my dad's brother had a taxi cab company, or medical transport company, which turned into a taxi cab when he took the half of it over. But as you were saying about your dad, I mean, now that I think about it in context, I don't know the type of life that they experienced prior to getting to the States or prior to having to do X, Y, and Z. But a lot of what I see is that's all that they really knew. Like all that they really knew to do was just to provide and to make sure that whoever comes after you gets a better piece of the pie. And because of their sacrifice, I think me and you have now, all of us have the freedom to step back a little bit and have that breathing room to say, okay, he did XYZ. Well, I can do XYZ, but I'm only able to think about it because I have the freedom to do so because they already made the sacrifice for me.
Yeah, it really is one of life's biggest blessings, right?
You
Like
know?
somebody who kind of took that onus on it on your behalf.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, like you may not even been born yet.
Mm.
Like the struggle or the sacrifice could have been well before that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
imagine being in the world that like my dad was when he was in his 20s or 30s. Like,
Yeah.
man, like what?
Mm.
But that's kind of that new evolution of fatherhood as well. But like sometimes like you hear it from like the older generation, right? Like, oh, they don't have it like we had it, or like it's not
Yeah.
nearly as tough as that. And sometimes, like, what do y'all think about that statement? Because I'm not necessarily like offended by it or anything like that. Because I get it. We got more
Mm-hmm.
access sometimes. Certain things come a little easier. Some things can be more convenient. But then there's also those the negatives about that, right? Like they
Yeah.
didn't necessarily have social media. Internet's kind
Mm-hmm.
of brought like some different dynamics to this whole thing, right? So like especially with y'all being new fathers, like
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about that dynamic? Like that old generation versus now and how you kind of have to move and do things.
I think it's for me. It's um, it's all a unique experience, right? And I can't say that my they've probably had it. Yes, they've had it tougher in instances, right? Like just very physical, the times that they were born in, the things that they had to go through, the access that they didn't have. And so like you said, from a convenience standpoint, our leverage is much greater than what they've had starting out. But I think because there's new levels, there's also new devils at these new levels. And part of what we
Ooh.
are able to sustain and handle, if we would have brought it back to their generation, we don't know if they would have had the bandwidth for that to a certain extent. And so I think as things continue to progress and grow, all the generations are going to have their own unique resistance and toughness. But to compare the two, it's like apples and oranges, if that makes sense. They're both equally great and they're both equally tough, but it's because of the timing of each that they both have to be well respected for what is going to come ahead of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to piggyback on that, like I think what separates the generations now is really like technology. Technology is like the real thing, and you have the old generations. Oh, you have like, we had it harder than you. Yes, but like I think that because the mindset changed, right? Like if you're thinking about like before, it's like you got to work harder. But now, like our generation, the new generation is like, well, we're working smarter, not harder. We can do the same output as you, but it just required less effort. We can find workarounds around it. We can use technology to our benefit and such. So like that's a huge, that's to me the huge difference. But like there's still true to that extent. Like for me, like again, I'm just a health fit like person. Is like the new generation is just like to me lazy. They don't go outside or
Mm.
I feel like
Mm.
I growing up, I feel like I was always outside, and there was always a group of kids always outside. Like we had like it was again we didn't have much, right? Like we didn't. It's not like none of us had all these video games or like big screen
Mm.
TV. Like I had a video game. I had like old school video game console and like a small TV, but like I didn't really have much to do inside. I was always outside. It was always like 20 kids in the block just running
Mm.
around. And now like
Mhm.
I'm looking in my neighborhood and it's like, man, there's like 3 kids ever outside, even riding their bike, or we have a pool
Mm.
over there. No one's in the pool. It's like, man, like it's a generational thing, right? It's just I don't know. But I mean,
Mm.
Hmm.
there's some truths to it. It's just again, it's like he said, every generational experience is unique.
Yeah.
So
And
even though we even
yeah.
though we think now like with technology is being so crazy, like crazy advanced, how this new generation has it easy. Like just imagine in 20 years when they're kind of in our age and what technology is gonna be then.
Right, right. And I think too, every
Mm.
every generation has their advancements, right? So
Yeah.
my dad was born in 1948. So his parents might have been born pre 1900s, or they could have not, right? They could have been maybe early 1910s, depending on their story. I don't fully know. But even from what they've experienced compared to what their grandparents experienced, like every generation is having that conversation towards one another.
Yeah.
if that makes sense, right? Like we're all looking at our technology that we've had for our particular times, and I guess the greater theme of it is there's vices, but then there's also benefits. And each generation can fall according to those vices, or each generation can thrive according to those benefits. Depending on which one you choose, it's
Yeah.
going to tell end how your lineage goes, how your
Yeah.
legacy goes.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really good point, Asley. Like, especially when it comes to like vices, if you couple that with like technology and just like your ability to access pretty much anything, I would say, I mean, vices are just like at an all-time high, or like potential vices, right?
Yeah.
And so like you almost have to have more discipline like nowadays
Mm.
just to not get caught up in something. Like, I mean, we
I
even
mean,
think
you're
about
right.
like social media, right? Like you can get canceled in a heartbeat
I mean, not
just
even that. Just
because
think.
of something, or like you can find anything that you want like, at this point at like the push of a button.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of this. We're in 2005, right? Let's say we want to do this exact same thing. We probably got the big fat screen monitor,
The 400
big
pound TV.
tower, right? We
Yeah.
got this webcam with 240, and we're using dial up, and we're like, okay, it's gonna take me like 20 minutes to even get on AOL, to even get on the SteamYard, so we can even do the podcast. Now these kids, like, we just like that, like we just
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 minutes, we got this done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it obviously it brings us benefits, right? But I do think that there is a certain resilience that this next generation is going to have that's like
Yeah.
eons or above like what we even had to have kind of growing up too.
I already know I have an idea what it's gonna be. AI.
What you,
Like
yeah, I feel you there.
iRobot's gonna be a thing.
I think so.
Oh man, come on, man! You got Chat GPT over here doing all the work
Yeah,
you need.
yeah, you're right. You can figure out some of life's pressing problems with a text message to an AI tool.
Come on, and then you heard the thing where they use AI to make a Drake and a Weeknd song, and it sounded just like them.
What?
Go on YouTube.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Like,
Yeah.
if I didn't tell you that, you would think that was really them.
I mean, I'm not surprised because like I've seen some prompts that are like, write me a speech as if Barack Obama was gonna say it.
Even the new iPhone, the iOS 17 that's coming out. I know this is not a Povia technology episode, but like iOS 17, I saw that, I think the whole setup probably takes like 10 to 15 minutes. You're just saying, phrases over and over and over again. And then eventually, like when it's fully set up, it could talk back and sound just like you. And it's almost not robotic. Like there's certain things that sound robotic, but like it's legit. That's gonna be on an iPhone, in September. With the new update.
And I think I heard somebody say this maybe the other day, but they were saying like in comparison to what people had in maybe the 1700, 1800, 1900s, like people who may be, at our lowest level from when we grew up, right? And you look at the certain neighborhoods that we grew up in, and for people that might, currently be low income experiencing that right now, in some instances, what we have still is greater than what a lot of the wealthy people had back then.
Oh yeah.
When you really think about it, right? When you think about the amount of clothes that we have, when you think about the roof over our heads, when you think about just access to health and resources and just different things that we have within our reach, we are much better, we would say, in quotation marks. But then at the same time, depression is still here, anxiety is still here, envy is still here, greed is
anxiety,
still here.
That evolves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's all these different vices are still here, but they just change costumes.
Yeah.
So I think even as you get older and you get into this next generation that we're about to experience, whether they go through AI, all these different things, the same things that we are experiencing, they're going to experience it as well. It's just going to be a different costume. And the temptation is, do you really know what you can handle? Do you really know what's at cost for you when you make decisions that you make? And I think that's a big part of manhood, is that for every action that we take, there's a reaction. For everything that we don't do, there's something that we will do, or something that we feel like we could have done or should have done. And so as men, being able to define, I think, or being able to have an understanding of who you were, who you are now, and who you're trying to become, these three they're always going to be in relations to each other.
Mhm.
And if you don't define and decide for yourself what you're going to stand on, what your values are going to be, then other people are going to decide for you. Other people are going to decide
Facts.
for you, you
Hey,
know?
so
It's
so
facts.
such a transition from manhood. Now, I mean, I kind of want to talk a little bit about Josh can relate from his experience, but like fatherhood. That's what we want to talk about too. You know, we're both fathers. Josh is a son,
Yes.
future
Hey,
father,
you
eventually.
know, it's gonna happen.
So
Yes.
I mean, take us like I guess just give us a brief history, brief summary, like just what was that transition like? You're not a father one moment, and then boom, you're a father, and how everything changes. Like I guess I kind of want to see how our experiences kind of like are like whether they're similar or not.
For sure. So I have two beautiful girls. I have one who just turned one on the 17th. And then I have one
Ah,
who's 3.5, turning 4 on December 23rd. And so the beauty about both is that they're all unique, and even the delivery and all that was unique in their own sense. But for the first one, I think for me it was a unique time because we had her right before COVID. And so
yeah.
I think my experience within fatherhood in the particular time of how I started is different than a lot of the people that I've talked to from the past or even now, because as soon as it was time for me to go back to work from paternity leave, the world shut down. And so I was able to stay home and literally be there every
Mm.
step of the way, from watching my daughter turn over to watching her crawl and do all these different movements that I would have missed if I would have been at work. And so I think because of the time that my wife and I had at the house with our first child, like it allowed me to experience fatherhood, I think, in a safe way. I didn't have these other
Mm.
competing priorities because there was nothing to do except to be at home with
Yeah.
the people that you love, hopefully you love, for the most part, right? So
Yeah.
because I was able to have that experience, I think that first one is really sweet for me. And now with the second one, it's understanding that as a father, you know, your heart your heart can grow. Your heart can grow. Your love can grow. Your love is not just going to stay how it is when you have one child. As you continue to increase, it can grow, and it is growing. And because both girls even are different in personality from what we're figuring out, like I'm learning that I have to be intentional as a father to be
Mm.
able to get to know my children's uh and what they're who they are, so that way I can love them uniquely
Yeah.
but still love them both wholesomely, if that makes sense. Right? Equally is kind of for me a play on words, but I much rather intentionality allows me to love each of my kids uniquely. And how I may refer to one, depending on the situation, how I refer to another, is going to be dependent on their personalities, depending on who they are, depending on the gifts that they have, depending on their framework of the world. I think that for me is the true blessing of fatherhood, is being able to build intentional relationships and then really see how those relationships get tested when they're out of your sight. The true test of parenting is not when your kids are in home with you, but what's what they do when they're outside.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Jealous of
overall,
it, man.
it's been great, man. It's been great. From both of the birth experiences. So, my first one, we had her at the birth center, and the birth went so well that the hospital place ended up giving us money back from the money that we had prepaid for the birth. So that was really cool. I remember that drive
Mm.
home. I can't say I'm a cautious driver per se, right? My record shows that I speed a little bit, but best believe when I took my baby home that night,
Oh
I
yeah.
was looking to the right, to the left, making sure all my
I was
stops,
like the
letting
whole
everybody
time.
go through, doing 10 and 2, making my turns, just really being intentional about that. Because I had a precious gift. I had new life in right here, and so it was truly special. And then for my second one, I was actually the first one to we delivered her in a sense because we had a home birth, and the way she came
Ah.
was a lot more sooner than expected, but I was the first hand that was on my child to be able to just welcome her into the world. And so just to be able to have both of those experiences, I'm really thankful for, most importantly, the time that I've had with my children. You know, being an entrepreneur, being able to work from home for most of the time, being able to just like be here, man, and have those moments at the park with them, take them to the museum, take them to the zoo, take them to school, take them on different play dates. Like, not many fathers have that option. You know, not many fathers have that time. So I think
Right.
what makes my fatherhood a unique experience is because I've had the time to spend with my kids.
Absolutely,
I'm
man.
jealous of this
I
guy.
hear that. I hear this theme of like presence
Yeah.
throughout, like, you know, the conversation and throughout your experience. And it's funny because like I think people are going to see COVID as like a whole generation of children, like, right, the quote unquote like
Mhm.
kind of COVID baby or the COVID era,
Mm-hmm.
where maybe sometime, or maybe one of the drawbacks might be like the lack of socialization from like
Mm.
newborns, like, you know, just not being able to go out and experience a lot of things, or things were just kind of confined to a specific space. um, but that is a very interesting point, that like you had a lot of time to kind of, you know, not just get adjusted to having a newborn in your life, but you could
Yeah.
actually cherish those moments
Yeah.
that a lot of people either take for granted or simply just don't have. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and I bet it made you stronger just as a relationship, right? Because like a lot of people were shook by the, you know, COVID dynamic and couldn't even stand their partners when you're just
Mhm.
home and kind of locked in. Or
Mhm.
the other side happens where you just grow stronger, you kind of lean in on each other. And
Mm.
I know that
Yeah.
was something that definitely happened for me and mine. We got so much closer just during that time,
Mm.
at a moment where, you know, things could definitely just fall off the rails, or like you may not even stand your partner or anything like that. But that was kind of one of those things where, like, you know, that this is something that's durable, this is something that can last a lifetime, and
Yeah.
someone that you can have, you know, a family with, for
Yeah.
instance.
Yeah, and that's good, man. To add, one of the reasons why my fatherhood experience has been phenomenal, I would say, is because of the partner that I have. Right, my wife is a phenomenal mother. Like, she sets the bar high. Like, my mom sets it high, but she's up there in terms of just her love and her care, her intentionality for the kids. That it's really, um, you can't help but to be great around her, and you can't help but to want to serve your kids as she serves our kids. And so I
Mhm.
owe the majority, I think, of my due diligence and presence to her, because she exemplifies that on a such a higher level than I do. You know, that it's cool to just be around somebody who's as passionate as raising her kids. You know.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Jay, but before letting you chime in, I think there's this notion that like men have to bootstrap everything, right? But like the support of your partner, your spouse, is like paramount to even your own success of the household, so to speak. And sometimes it's just that realization that like you're not by yourself, you don't have to do it alone.
Mhm.
You know, you don't have to take up this mantle of all these stressors and sacrifices in your life and just say like, oh, like I've got to do X, Y, and Z, and you know, I've got to make this thing work. Well, like, you have someone else as well. They're just
Mhm.
strong, powerful, loving, caring, kind as you are, as you can be. And there's power behind that as well. And I know you have this theme of power up, but I would
Mhm.
say, shoot, my wife gives me so much power.
Yeah.
Like I'm empowered just as much from my wife as I hope that I empower her as well. You know,
Yes.
I think it's that back and forth kind of dynamic that um, tends to lean well to a strong household, strong family overall.
Mhm.
But Jay, like, what about so your recent experiences, right? Like, if I'm not mistaken, it was around April because it was basically
Yeah.
like the week after my wedding.
So it was March 29th. That
March
Tuesday.
29th. So dang, right before, right before.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Your wedding was first, right?
Yeah, that was March
Yeah.
24th, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
right
Yeah. Yeah.
before April. I was
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
like it might have been like
No,
April 1st or
it
something.
was supposed to be, I think, April 2nd or 3rd was the due
Right.
date, but we had a scheduled C-section, and
Mhm.
so we had it that Tuesday, so like right a little bit after your wedding. But then we was afraid that even though it's scheduled, like they told us that this baby can pop any day now. So it was like I just couldn't go all the way to Gainesville just for something that happened. Like, but
Jason, stop there. Like, talk about that a little bit, right? Like, what is that anticipation like?
Man, you know what? Like, I guess I'm just a different guy. I'm so chill that nothing. Like everyone's like for 8 months, 8 months. But like, are you ready? Are you ready? I'm just like, eh. Like, you know, like it's not. I'm not gonna know until it happens. Like you can try to scare me and whatever, but I'm like, it's like I already know everyone's experience is different. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And then like we woke up and I'm like, well, this is the day, right? And then nothing. Like it didn't hit me. And then like once I started ganning up and I was like, this is it. This is it. And then even then, like she like, you know, like they did the C-section, they showed me her, and like everyone's like, you know, like most dads cry, whatever. I'm just in shock. I'm just like, whoa, okay, like, and it didn't hit me. It still didn't hit me, like until like they cleaned her up, and it was upstairs waiting for Camilla to come by. And the baby, she was crying. Her name is Aaliyah, so baby Aaliyah was crying. And then when she held my finger, man, my heart just dropped, and I just, my boy, those eyes were super watery. I was like, oh my god.
But that's awesome, man.
But fatherhood, oh, man. So she's 3 months. She's gonna be 4 months. So it's gonna be a month next week. Fatherhood didn't hit me till 3 weeks ago. So, because when you think about it, I had the luxury, like I had the privilege, and I was blessed that my job paid for paternity leave. So yeah, I got 3 months off. That's one of those benefits you don't realize you need until you need it. So you know, just to have 3 months, hey, I ain't gotta work. I don't gotta work, and like I know my bills are gonna be paid. It's just guaranteed money coming in. So like basically all my all my attention was to her. Like, yeah, I didn't sleep, whatever, but like I was always, for the most part, there. If I wasn't there, it was like I was working out in the front, right? But like I chose purposely not to like run or not to go to the gym because I want to be near. Like I always want to be near in case anything happened. Like I'm like right there. So like I know we talked about wellness earlier, so that was always still my wellness. I still need to work out. Like for me, if I don't work out, like to me, I just don't feel good, physically, mentally. So like I still kind of did little things. I'll walk for 30 minutes, like low cardio, whatever. But like I was always here. So then it like started hitting me like maybe 2 weeks before I had to go work. I was like, damn, like things are really gonna change. And again, I'm very blessed at my job where I only work 4 days. And 2 days I work from home, and the other 2 I'm in the office. So essentially, you know, I only go to work 2 out of 5 days. But still, that first day going to work, man, it made me sick to my stomach, man. Because like all I know is her, right? For 3 months, it feels like it's like 3 months not that long. But man, like I feel like so much time passed in 3 months. I was like, there's no way she's been with me just for 3 months. Like it felt like more. I really had so many experiences, so many funny things, funny stories with her already. And then that first day at work, I just kept looking at my phone, looking at just pictures, and I'm like, this sucks. Like I can't, like I miss her. Like, and I didn't think I was gonna like that again. That's when it's like that's real fatherhood. Like I really miss her. And I'm like, how do like dads do this? Like you gotta go to work. Like you know you leave, and like when I go to work and I just look at the bed and like she's like my wife and her there together. I'm like, this sucks. Like I'm just gonna miss stuff. Like even when I'm working from home, like I'm upstairs and they're downstairs. Like I feel like I miss certain things. So like if I have like a quick break from a meeting, I'll run downstairs just to kind of check on them real quick. But like stuff like that, like it almost like I have a greater respect for my dad now because of it. Because like man, like I didn't see him that much because he was always working and stuff. And even when he wasn't, like he used to work at Pizza Hut and Papa John's at one point. He was like the manager there, and like I still remember like times where he used to he used to donate pizza for pizza parties and stuff. So he would do kind of little things like that just for my class. So like even though he wasn't always there, he kind of did things like that. Like he was working like 2 jobs. Like I never saw him. Like I didn't really see my dad more until like I was in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, he started making a little bit of better money, but I was like, man, how do you even do this up for 18 or for 21 years? Like to like go to work and then like have to worry about me and my sister, my brother. Like I'm over here worrying about Aaliyah right now. Like it's crazy. Like it's just like whatever, like you know, we all have our good and bad experiences with our parents, but like now I understand, and like I have a greater appreciation for him, even regardless of the things that, you know, I probably feel a certain way about him, but like it's a respect thing. Like you won't know until like you're in that position, so you're a father, until like you until like you know, like, you know what, I'm the support. Like I gotta go make the money to make sure like she's well. Like I gotta make sure, like I'm over here thinking like she's gonna get everything I didn't have. Like if she's gonna get everything I didn't have, I gotta grind. So now I got more motivation to grind. I guess more of a motivation to do this podcast, to do, you know, to make sure this podcast kind of escalates even more. So yeah, so like with that, that's my new experience with fatherhood. And then like to piggyback on what Ashley said, is like I had like a great appreciation for my wife, because she does so much. Like she's breastfeeding, and like that takes a lot. And like when you first have, like when you have that newborn, you realize as a father, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
Like the baby, like the baby's crying. The baby, like there's only certain things you can do until it's like, you know what, you have to give the baby to the mom. Like the mom is almost the cure to everything for the baby crying. So it's like I try to do so much, and it's like I try to take some responsibilities, or try to take the brunt from her, because, you know, I know, like, you know, postpartum's a thing and all that, but like you got to remember, like you got to be the number one cheerleader, man. I was like cheering her, like, you got this, like even when she felt like she wasn't doing enough, I'm like, you're doing plenty. Like if anything, I'm sleeping more than you sleeping, and I'm barely sleeping. So imagine, I can't imagine you're like, to feed a baby every 2 hours, you're like, you're feeding, and then like 2 hours pass, like you close your eyes and boom, 2 hours pass. It's like she's exhausted, but like, I got this, I'll clean out, take the dogs out, cook, whatever. Don't worry about it. Like you, like always, even now, like she thinks she's not doing enough because she just started going to work. And I'm like, no, you got this. Don't worry about it. Or don't worry when you're at work. I got this. Like you grow more. Like having a kid would definitely make you stronger if you are already in the right mindset.
Right.
Like if you're already having problems from the beginning, like it's probably gonna escalate even more, because like it's a true team dynamic.
Yeah.
And
it reveals what's already there.
Yeah. So like,
and exposes what's already there.
Like if she already respects my wellness, and understands I need to do certain things for wellness, and I respect that she needs to do certain things for her wellness, and maybe she needs some time to herself and all that. Like we were doing that already. So like the fact that now that we have a kid, is like, no, now that those things are even more important, and that you really need to like, or like she knows, like I gotta work out. Like, go work out, go play games. And for her, like now that she could, like before, I noticed that she loved working out too. She likes running. She couldn't do that because she was like breastfeeding for those 3 months. Like she tried to, but then she was burning too much calories.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't making the milk. So like she's like, no, I can't do it. But now she started working out. I can notice, you know, like her mood's getting better and such. But I'm like, go do that, or start slow. Like again, you gotta be the cheerleader. You gotta be the support.
Yeah, one of the things, as you were saying, man, that's really humbling, is that as many diapers as I've changed, both of my kids are not going to remember those moments.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I don't know who changed.
Memory of a goldfish.
Yeah, I don't know who changed my diapers. That's the humbling thing about it, is that somebody, whether it was mom, dad, whether it was an uncle, auntie, like I don't know who in my entire short span of that age changed my diapers. Like I don't even know who potty trained me. I hope it's one of my parents, right? It could have been somebody from the daycare. But all of these little moments, that's like pivotal for us to be sustained and for us to grow. Like I always think, when I think about my dad, I think about middle school, high school, the times when he was working a lot. But then as I have conversations with my mom about how my dad was when we first were born, my brother and I, she was saying how she had to go to work. And he was the one taking care of the majority of the things at night and the evening with us. Now, these are things that I would have known. I would have never known.
Never know.
Unless I would have had a baby to then ask the question of, hey, like, who was doing all this when it was y'all's time? And so now it brings me a new light of being that my father is, because he has that memory in his head, and he knows. But unless I was told, I would have never known.
I mean, they said that you don't really remember anything till like you're 4 years old, so you have 4 years of memories you would never get.
Yeah.
But besides pictures, if you have that. But before you go, Josh, I want to just show you this because I'm like proud of this. This is like my first Father's Day.
Man, yo,
so that's her like at maybe 1.5, 2 months. But like, look at that. Like, he's never gonna know that like I was watching Ted Lasso while she's sleeping on me, right?
Shoot, man, those are those moments, man. Like I'm sure as a parent, like you never forget, and then you can kind of go back to those moments, like when they're older, and kind of talk about like what was kind of going through your mind. And Asley, like you brought up something that really took me back to something that my parents always say, and no, usually it's probably when I screw up, but it's usually like, you know, that line like, oh, you won't get it until you're a father. Like you won't even understand until like you're older, and then you're in the same boat, right? Like that's kind of what you reminded me of, when like you just don't have that memory or that perspective until like you're just in those shoes. And shoot, I'm not even there yet, but I'm listening to both of y'all's stories, and like I can't help but have so much profound respect for what you guys are doing. Not just the two of you, but your partners as well, your spouses, and the support that you have for each other, the attachment, the connections that you all have made with your children. It's truly remarkable. I mean, I feel like I'm amongst kings right now, man, and y'all just setting that example. And
hey, Josh,
I appreciate it for sure.
Don't be afraid. I'll say that, because you know people always like, yo, like I think it's not true, where they're like, you're never ready, like, and all that stuff, right? You know when you're ready. Like I knew I was ready. Like, all the time we're like, oh, are you ready? I was like, no. But like once I was in my 30s, I was like financially stable. I got a good job. We got a house. I got like disposable income. Like even with the baby, I still have disposable income. Like if anything, I'm just gonna get more of what I already have. So it's like we're ready. Like I'm way more of a mature person than I was even like 3-4 years ago. So like you know your maturity level. So like once you hit that maturity level, it doesn't matter how hard this is, because this is hard regardless. Like, there's no sugarcoating it. Like it's hard. But, like if you have the mature mindset, like, you know, it's gonna get done. You know, like then you know you're ready. And I think that's why last year and this up until now, when people was like trying to scare me, is like, are you ready? Are you ready? And I gave the nonchalant response. That's probably because I was ready. Like, but no one wants to like, no, you can't be ready. Like, it's like, no, like, I didn't have a kid in my 20s. Like maybe you guys, like, you know, like I was blessed that I was ready now, and you know, this is my right time.
Timing is everything, man. It really can be, right? Like you were in that right space. And
yeah, I'm 32, right? So if I was 25, this would have been a completely different story.
Oh yeah. I think the crazy part is like even generations before, right? Like fathers were fathers at like 18, 19, 20 and stuff like that, right? Like sometimes you think that they would have all that stuff figured out, maybe not, but I mean, it's just
but you know what it is, if like you're right, because I like that's the thing, 18, 19, 20, like they're having kids, right? They were forced to grow up. But like us in our situation, we're already grown. We're already grown up. We're ready. So that's the opposite. Like one who's forced to, and one who's ready, who's ready for the next step. Yeah, it makes the experience completely different. I can't imagine having a kid at that time. I was so immature.
I would add, I think that we, even in the mature state that we are in now, in the preparedness that we had and the leverage that we had on that, I think even with all the preparation, I think regardless of what state you are in, your child still forces you to grow up.
Oh no, yeah.
Because there are some moments of you thought that you were the most patient person. you know, or you thought you were the most stable in some senses, right? Or you
Yeah.
thought you were the most X, Y, and Z, whatever they may be. There's going to be moments where fatherhood exposes your weaknesses.
When you
You
don't
know, it
see.
exposes when you're half maybe sleep or sleep deprived or whatever, or maybe things are not going your way and there's fussing. Like, you don't know what's going to come out until it's there, you know. And so the beauty, I think, is if you understand that walking into it, and if you face resistance, well, the only way you grow muscle, going back to wellness, is through resistance.
Yeah.
The only way you get stronger lungs to run faster is through going harder and then being able to maintain that momentum and tempo. And so I think all relating wellness back to fatherhood, it is this: like, there are going to be some forces of resistance in your fatherhood experience. But remember that fatherhood is the best hood to be a part of, you know, and it's the resistance that's worthwhile, because
That's what's up.
there's going to be moments where the resistance now may be okay. I remember when my child was first born, she would just lay there, and putting on a diaper was smooth. But then as she got older and she started to move, now she's moving when I'm trying to put a diaper on. Now that she's a little stronger, she's resisting getting into a car seat. And it's still, you know, I still love her, and fatherhood is still great, but there's these distinct moments to where, okay, I'm facing opposition. How do we handle the situation to where we both win? Or at least I get you to to safety, and, you know, take the reins as a father should, to be able to make sure you have the right upbringing. And the same thing with motherhood too, right? So I think that it's going to be challenging. It's going to be tough. But remember, muscle is only built through resistance.
Man, I almost think, yeah, I was about to say that might just be the start for final thoughts and
Yeah.
reflections, right? Like, man, like, this has been an episode for the books. Thank you all for this like conversation. I think like conversations like this are much needed, especially nowadays. Like, we got to keep this energy high, and as we like, you bring the energy for sure. Like, it is dang near 9 o'clock. I'm about to go running. I'm about to go run a couple miles. Just get it in right now, man.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I'm actually scheduled for an 80-minute run tomorrow, and I'm excited now. I'm
Let's do
excited
it.
to wake
There
up
you
early
go.
for that run.
Let's do
But
it.
yeah. Any final thoughts from the fathers of the Genuine Content podcast, Genuine Content family at this moment in time? Like, any life lessons or anything that you would share for someone like me, let's say, right, who's maybe on the cusp or right there? I know, Jay, you said like don't be scared of it. Asley, you were talking about like, you know, muscles don't move without resistance.
Yeah, man. Just if I had any words, man, to any upcoming fathers or even fathers that are present now, like, you get a chance to be friends to many people. You get a chance to you know, do many things, have many different careers, but your child is only gonna have a set of two people that are their biological parents. And as a father, you are one half of that equation in somebody's life. And so the weight of that, think about it, your kids are going to have many friends, they're going to have many opportunities, and they may have many father figures per se. But in terms of the biological standpoint of you bringing the child into this world, like, you by blood, it's only one that's going to be on that birth certificate with the other person. And so just take that into light, that, you know, it's a responsibility, but whoever you have, son or daughter, it's a responsibility that was made for you because it came from you. It is already a part of you. And so how exciting is it that you get to do your due diligence in changing the world by raising somebody to a high standard that will be equipped to make the change in the world.
That's what's up, man. There it is right there, Jay.
I mean, I'm gonna try to follow. Okay. I mean, with it, like, besides don't be afraid. Like, honestly, it's a team effort.
Yeah.
You have your significant other, whoever you consider family, whether it's your parents, cousins, friends, whoever wants to help you out, just take the help, man. It's you can't take enough help.
That's big.
Like, even like things where, like, I'm lucky where, hey, mom, you know, I got a meeting. Like, can you just watch it for a couple hours while I do this? Yeah, whatever, stuff like that. Or, my sister's like, hey man, if you ever need me to watch her for anything, let me know. Or like Camilla's sister, her mom, same way. So it's like, that's, whatever support you can, anyone who's willing to help you, whatever, friends, family, whatever, definitely take it. This is not a time to be proud or anything like that. So between that and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a crazy 3 months, and I think I've done a lot already with my life prior to Aaliyah, and I'm already thinking like, we have I just want to plan trips for her, even though it's like she's not gonna remember it, but like, we're going to Atlanta next month. I'm like, look at that, first time she's going on an airplane. We're going to Atlanta, and then we're gonna go to Disney, and we're gonna go to Chicago. We're going to Food and Wine in October, and it's like, she's not gonna know any of this stuff, and all she's gonna have is pictures of this. But it's like, damn it, like, I'm gonna make memories with her,
Yeah, that's good, because
it's gonna be a ride.
Man, because honestly, fellas, another reason why I think even life is a gift, man, when I think of fatherhood, a blessing in my life is being able to have other fathers who are doing it with me, around me. We're all raising kids now. At the time, you see different fathers at the park. I know Jay's a father, so we're connected. But one of the things that makes me take this conversation to a serious note is that one of my close good friends that I grew that I didn't grow up around him, but I met him kind of right when I was in my college aged. We kind of experienced some of the same things. He was into fitness, he was into wellness, and he had epilepsy though, right? So that was a big part of his life. But long story short, I was there at his wedding. And as I started having kids, the world shut down. He I believe had his first kid around like right after the world was kind of opening up in a sense, and then he had just had a second kid. And so at the age of 34, man, he just recently passed in March, because he ended up it was a fatal car accident. And so he left behind a wife, right? And he left behind two young kids under the age, his daughter's like, I think not even 3, and his son was like newborn, right? And so I think whenever there's those moments where like, I don't want to play or I don't want to pick up my child, or I don't want to I just want to lay here and rest or nap. A lot of times I think, man, if my brother who just passed would have had this opportunity, he would do it in a heartbeat. And so I say that to say, going back to what I said in the beginning, like, you never know when your last day is going to be on here. And I can't stress that enough as a father. So if you're a father, especially for you, be prepared. If your last day was tomorrow, are you prepared? Do you have your financial stuff in order? Do you have things in place, relationships in place that your family would be able to pick up in a heartbeat if you weren't there? Because magnitude is one day you're not going to be. And sometimes we don't get to decide when. Most times we don't get to decide when that is. So, but on a lighter note, though, enjoy fatherhood.
Yeah.
Hey, that's it. I mean, I don't think we got to say much more than that, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is genuine content. I hope everybody liked this episode. Asley, thank you so much again for joining us. You are part of the Genuine Kontent family. We really appreciate you fellowship with us, sharing your moments with us, sharing your experiences, your tokens of wisdom as well. I think we all kind of grew from this, and I hope our audience and listeners also grow from this as well. Asley, give another shout out to what you got going on, Noble Sheep. Like, we definitely want to highlight that again.
Noble Sheep, we are all about just helping students lead effectively, students and staff. That's what I do on a career base. But if you catch me somewhere in Gainesville, if you even catch me sometimes when I go to Miami, just say power up and I'm gonna give you a high five, right? Because that's our motto for life. And so to all that are listening, we thank you, because you have given the greatest investment that you have, which is your time. And so thank you for investing your time in something that was well spent.
Boom. Jay, let's do it, man. I mean, this is another good one for the books.
What a great way to start season 2. I'm excited for season 2. I think we got some good things coming up. I feel like we're gonna do things a little bit different this season. This is completely different than what we did before, right? Like, a lot of it was kind of like little controversial topics. I mean, we'll definitely hit those when the time comes, because the news has been kind of dry in regards to like culture and news. So Since this is dry, I love topics like this. So I'm excited for season 2. I know the fans were waiting. Fans were asking, "Hey, what's going on?" I was like, "Hey, man, don't worry, it's coming soon."
Yep, we're gonna keep this train rolling, man. But this was a great start to a new segue in our journey here. But this is Genuine Content once again. Appreciate everybody for listening well in advance. Stay tuned for future episodes. We out here.
Peace.
Just get the fuck